The biggest fantasy football tips from the NFL trade bonanza. The NFL trade deadline usually comes and goes like a Jerry Jones press event, much flapping and preening and squawking, but little that actually makes sense or manifests as actionable or, true. But Deadline Day 2017 was a rousing success, not because any dumb rumors that the NFL media echo chamber ricocheted across the internet turned out to be true, they didn't, but because a few franchises went into stealth mode and changed their fortunes. Marcell Dareus, who as recently as 2014 was considered one of the two best defensive tackles in the league and is the bringer of a massive salary cap hit next season, went from Buffalo to Jacksonville. Duane Brown, an all-pro left tackle from 5 years ago, went from Houston to Seattle. And three in their prime skill players, Ajayi, Kelvin Benjamin and Jimmy Garoppolo, have the potential to tilt scales league-wide. That NFL wise guys foresaw none of these moves doesn't change their scale nor their fun. Even the Browns and Bengals had scoff-worthy escapades while not making a deal. Subscribe to the Fantasy Football Beat on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play. Dareus has been okay in 2017 and is occasionally a disciplinary problem, but he could add to a tough Jaguars defense. Brown sat out the Texans' first 6 games in search of a better contract, but played well in his Week 8 debut and could help rebuild a broken Seahawks run game. As for the others? Let's dig into the fantasy, and some real-life, implications. Ajayi to the Eagles, 2018 4th-round pick to the Dolphins. Ajayi's 2017 production has been terrible, no touchdowns and 66 yards rushing per game. But Miami's offense has been a Jay Cutler shrug made manifest, with bad quarterback play failing to keep defenses honest and the offensive line unable to keep tacklers off the burly back. Among 48 qualified RBs, Ajayi currently ranks 46th in average yards before contact. Watch his film and you'll see him met in the backfield over and over. The best and worst fantasy football matchups for Week 9. Despite the fact they've lost left tackle Jason Peters to a knee injury, the Eagles will almost certainly offer Ajayi more running room, if only because Carson Wentz is playing so well. I don't believe LeGarrette Blount disappears from Philly's game plans, but neither do I believe that someone of Blount's frustrating running style, he's a giant human with great power who regularly turns his shoulders and tries to outrun defenders, will result in Ajayi playing a supporting role. Maybe as soon as this week, Ajayi will be the guy. And while there are rumblings that the reason Miami soured on him involved his personality, as a player I really like him, he's a big man who can cut and run over people. This will wind up a strong move for his fantasy value. In Miami, Kenyon Drake and Damian Williams are nobody's idea of proven commodities and the Dolphins' offense is still bad, so it's hard to be revved up about these new co-starters. Drake has more lateral quickness and explosiveness, but Williams is my favorite, a more reliable, fast and powerful player who can catch it. Kelvin Benjamin to the Bills, 2018 3rd and 7th round picks to the Panthers. At 5'2", the Bills are dreaming of their first playoff appearance since 1999, the longest drought in North American sports. Dealing Dareus was curious, but acquiring Big Benji is pretty brilliant. Tyrod Taylor is a good Cam Newton impersonator, he's mobile, keeps plays alive, and isn't mechanically consistent and thus not particularly accurate. In Buffalo, Benjamin gets to play the same role he played in Carolina, split end, often although not always isolated on one side against a more physical corner, and as defenses have learned, he's a tough dude to jam off the line at 6'5" and 250 pounds. Rookie Zay Jones can take on a more ancillary role, while Jordan Matthews can stay in the slot. Kelvin Benjamin's production could blow up with the Bills. One potential negative here is that whereas the Panthers with Newton have downfield aggression stamped in their DNA, that's mostly not the Bills. The idea in Buffalo is to protect Taylor as a thrower, and only be as aggressive down the field as the scoreboard requires you to be. That could mean fewer jump balls to Big Benji who, let's face it, will never be known as a route running technician. His strategy as a player is, blot out the sun and then have that dude with the football throw it to me. But it works. I think his fantasy value stays about the same. Even after the deal, he's still inside my top 20 fantasy WRs for this week. In Carolina, Devin Funchess, the remaining big and slow Panthers WR, gets a volume boost, though he's a pale imitation of Benjamin. This trade doesn't mean Funchess is suddenly faster or has better hands. And in fact, Greg Olsen could return from his broken foot in a few